Can you still see it? Because I just got an error message.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe that's when I need to add event up here.
Hey, where do you want them to register for this event? On TRIA for Saturday?
Yeah,
Summit at
I'm setting it up right now.
Okay,
I'm
good.
setting it up right now. But
Go figure. I didn't do anything.
so internet stopped working now. It's loading.
Oh.
Oh. Anybody else in here?
All right, guys. Hello and welcome. Welcome to 360 Tuesday or Taco Tuesday or just plain old Tuesday, whichever Tuesday you prefer. My name is Jackie Richards. I am on tonight from your board of directors along with Kathy Russell.
Hello.
Who is in Tampa with Leslie Ortiz at a brainstorming mastermind session. We also have Karen Lewis. And I don't know, Kathy, do you want to try to do the announcements? We were having a little bit of technical difficulties.
Well,
I can go.
Can you hear me or not?
We can hear you right now. Yeah.
All right, welcome everyone. Great to see you on here. We always like to have you have your cameras on so we know you. And you know what was really cool? We had our Unbus tour last Saturday, which was awesome. And we recognized so many people because you had your cameras on. So it was great fun. Just
Oh,
some
and I
reminders.
forgot Crystal. Crystal's on. I'm sorry. Kathy.
Oh yeah, Crystal, that big hand of Crystal for putting together a super successful Unbus tour. Yay. And we are going to be playing in the next one again by popular demand. We'll try a different area. So if any of you have any rehabs going on, get in touch with Crystal there and let her know you'd be interested in having them on the next tour. As a reminder, networking is going on our Facebook networking group. Prep is virtual. We had to apologize to cancel our prep virtual last time because I got sick. So I'm sorry about that, but we're getting a great one scheduled for you for March. Prep in person, prep wholesale is ready to go. That class is made. And as soon as I get back into town, we're going to be setting up a date to start those meetings. And then of course, prep in person with rehab is going to be a little further down the road. As a reminder, we are still looking for a vendor coordinator, or if any of you know anyone who you like their services, whether it's a roofer or a plumber or someone you get your tires from or whatever, why does it help you to bring us new vendors? Well, a couple reasons. One, we'll pay you a commission. Two, it helps our group in general. It makes it more vibrant. It gives more resources for people to have a bunch of vendors, and it's more people we can rely on. You know, we know that someone has used their services and likes them. So bringing referrals for vendors, you know, our club is great. It could be 3 times better if you bring more people to be part of the community. And you know, that's why we are able to keep the dues so cheap, because a bunch of the dues do not pay for meetings when we're paying for rooms and food, but when we have vendors, they help defray that. So it just contributes and makes our group better. So if you know anyone you would like to refer as a vendor, we would love to have them, and you can send that to Karen Lewis, who is also on the call. I think I already said networking is taking place on the Facebook group. You also have the opportunity to make a vendor spotlight, which by the way, we just got a new one. So I'll be slotting that into the next slideshow. And other than that, we just thank you for being here, and back to you, Jackie.
Oh, well, thank you. And we had really good audio. So I'm going to put my Leslie hat on. So just pretend I'm Leslie for the moment, and I'm gonna do my Leslie. It is so great, first of all, to see all of your smiling faces. Thank you for having your cameras on. We cannot reiterate enough how important it is to be able to see your face. And once we get back into in-person networking, it's just lovely to be able to look out and recognize. And we found that out this weekend with the Unbus tour. We all had our masks, but could actually recognize some of the eyes, and, you know, kind of slip the mask down every once.
It was awesome, man.
It was absolutely phenomenal. Meetings this week, you know, we've got 360 tonight. We have Wire on Thursday. Wire, Women in Real Estate. Typically, we are at Prestonwood Country Club when we're doing it in person. And it truly, for the most part, is a ladies only event unless you dress up if you're a guy and put on your fancy dress and your fancy hat. And we're always welcoming you. On Zoom, we've been inviting everyone, but I will, fair warning, this Thursday's topic truly is about being a flipper, being a female flipper in what is traditionally a man's role, a man's world. So if you do choose to join us, put your thick skin hat on, because we might be talking guys a little bit. Don't take it personally. We're just talking about some of those contractors, and you know the type that may have a little bit of an issue sometimes dealing with a female. I, for one, will tell you that I'm surrounded by so many female colleagues, I don't even give it a thought anymore. And I love my contractors, and I think it's, it doesn't faze me at all, but it really does bring up some good discussion points. And our Caron will be doing a case study. She is amazing, and she's an architect, and she's brilliant, and she'll talk about sort of how she navigates through this traditional male environment. So join us. In March, we are working towards our first main meeting that we believe will be in person. And I'm saying that with a lot of we believe, and we are going down this path knowing that anything could change. But right now we are looking at doing an in-person meeting in March. It would be our main meeting. It would probably be it will be held at Prestonwood Country Club. There would be a lot of restrictions. And so look for information coming out soon. And if you are interested in attending, I will encourage you to sign up quickly because attendance will be limited. For those of you that have just joined in this past year, typically when we have our main meetings, we are 200, 250 on an average month. We would be cutting it off at 100. Obviously, there would be tables of 10 and lots of guidelines. So stay tuned for that. Boy, Leslie, what you do is hard. It's hard to go over all these meetings. So I'm going to switch back to Jackie and say that I've got nothing else to say, but it's great to see everybody. And unless Karen or Crystal or you guys have,
I'm good.
turn it over to one of my all-time favorite female entrepreneurs that I was privileged to get to know a little bit last year. Linda is phenomenal. For everybody that is new, listen to her because she has so many nuggets. It's amazing. And for those of us that are experienced, you should listen even more, pay closer attention because she's just got so insider trade, insider knowledge, guys. All right, I'm shutting up. Linda, it's all yours. Thank you.
Well, that was an amazing introduction. Thank you so much, Jackie, and the rest of the TRIA team. It's so great to see you. And I'm so happy that you actually get to, that you actually get to be with people. So that's very exciting. I'm wondering how I can show this and show the screen at the same time. I can do to the view here, speaker gallery view. I should have tested this out. Well, anyway, I'll just go blind. If you, but anyway, y'all can see my screen, right? Yes.
Not yet. Are you?
Oh, I have to share it. Oh, that's the issue.
You have to share it.
Oh,
Yeah.
share. Yeah, of course. There we go. Okay. Share. Great. Now you can see it, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Now we are
Okay, good. And now you can see the whole screen. Awesome. Well, hi, everybody. Happy February. Glad you could join me. And y'all are very, very lucky to belong to this group. This is TRIA is just really amazing. I've known them for what, 3-4 years now. And as part of your leadership is at a mastermind to make your organization even better. I was part of that mastermind for a couple of years. They've got some really great strategies because we're headed into the most amazing time for real estate investing, I believe. We're not sure exactly what's going to happen because we've never had to deal with circumstances that we're dealing with right now, but you've got very, very low interest rates. You've got low inventory, but I suspect there's going to be a lot more inventory coming up. You're going to have people in a lot of different kind of unique situations. And I just think if you're brand new at this, I think it's a perfect time for you to get started. If you have been out of the market and coming back into the market, you're very smart. And if you've just been never stopped like me, I think we're in for a fun ride for the next 12 to 24 to 36 months. And what we're going to talk about tonight is something that most people ignore. I don't know why, but most people ignore this topic, and it's something that I fell into. And as a teacher, a lot of my students, their very first deals fell into this topic, and so I'm hoping you'll get a lot of benefit out of it. I'm really kind of loosey goosey. If you have any questions, just put them into the chat line. The team will, ask them for me. I do recommend you grab some notes, some paper, some notes. I do like seeing people's faces, by the way. So come off the screen if that's okay. We just like participating. If you're finishing up that dinner or that dessert, putting the kids to bed, whatever it is, we'd love to have you participate so we can see who you are. And I think you'll get more value out of it. When I speak live, I always tell people sit in the front row, you'll get the most value out of it as possible. So anyway, having said that, everything I do is just to give you more value. That is all I care about, is more value to you, because I don't do this for a living. I do this part-time. I just love to teach. I love to coach, but my money is made in real estate. Of course, we have a disclaimer that I am not an attorney nor an accountant, even though I might look like one. So we're going to give you a lot of different great ideas. The examples and case studies that I'm going to give you today and also on Saturday are real. But I didn't sit there and go through their tax return to verify it, but they're all real deals that have happened and from real people that I've spoken to. So that's the information on that. So let me just see from a raise of hands, how many of you are currently working full-time right now? Like you've got full-time W-2 jobs, raise your hands. Excellent. Okay, good. This is a perfect opportunity for you. How many of you are looking to buy your own home? How many of you are like renting and you're looking to buy your own home? Any of you in that category? Not okay. And how many of you are brand new at real estate? Brand new. Don't even know really how to spell real estate or anything. Okay. And how many of you have been around for 10, 15, 25 years that I should know about? Some of you guys. Again, that's why it's so great being part of REIA. Your team is very experienced. And so that's what we want to do there. So now let's talk about the strategies that you have. I'm sure you've heard these terms before, but I just want to get a feeling for this. How many of you are active wholesalers? You're going out, you're marketing properties, and you're trying to find deals that other people might want to take advantage of. Anybody doing any of that? Oh, that's interesting. Usually, so Nate's shaking his hand kind of like this. So we'll see what that is. How many of you like to buy, fix, and sell? I know Jackie's a major rehabber. How many of you like to buy, fix, and sell, and that's your favorite thing to do? Okay, great. And how many of you, like me, like to buy and hold for the rest of your life? Yeah. Okay. And then how many of you want to buy and sell notes? Any of you guys doing that? Because this is a great opportunity for that too. Okay, great. And any of you here don't know a hammer from a screwdriver? Like this is really brand new for you? You don't have to raise your hand for that. That's okay. So tonight what I'm going to show you is how to do this, how you can do all of this that we've just talked about with less money, less work, less experience in your spare time. Even if you're a CPA and you're in the middle of tax season and you're 2 weeks behind because the IRS didn't send out the tax returns until just now, you can do this. And I'm going to show you that this is very easy, it's very fun, it's very fast, and that you really can get your first deal done in the next 30 days. Now, I know a lot of people claim that and they talk about it and they make it sound so interesting and so easy, but it's really hard to put together. This, I'm telling you, is the easiest, funnest, fastest way to do it. And you really can go out in the next 30 days, buy your first deal. So let's talk about this. This is my very first transaction. I started out just like you. I attended a seminar. I always had an interest in it. At the time, I was a technical writer and I also was selling health insurance. And I just always liked real estate. So I'd gone to a seminar and they told me what to look for and I looked for it and I went out and talked to realtors and I asked them a bunch of questions, but I didn't know anything about construction. I didn't know how to estimate repairs. There was no REIA for me to belong to. And like I said, you guys are so lucky to have TRIA right in your backyard. And by the way, back then there were not a whole lot of women doing this that I knew about. There were some, but there were very few women doing this. And then I met a guy who told me about buying this. What is this? This is a condo. And there were, let's see, I bought, so here are the numbers on this one. I bought it for $29,000 and I bought it with a line of credit from my own home. I could, all I had to do was carpet, paint, cleaned it up. I rented it for $300 per month positive cash flow, and I sold it for $55,000. And let's just see if we can get the mute button on there. Oh. Can anybody do the mute thing? Okay.
Yeah, let me
So-
see if I can unmute, if I can mute everybody, I'm gonna try.
Thanks, Jackie. So here's the deal. First of all, I did it without using any of my own money, which is my favorite way of buying real estate. I'm not saying you don't need any money. I just like doing it without any of my own money. And I got a HELOC, which is a home equity line of credit. And it's very easy now to get that on your own home. And the interest rates are maybe 2%, very, very low. The other thing about HELOCs is that it's a simple interest, which means that you're paying down the principal and the interest at the same time, just like a car loan. So you're going to pay that off a lot sooner than like an amortized schedule from your own house. I did not need to know any instruction. I didn't see all those windows, didn't replace them. See that roof? Didn't replace that either. There's garages there, did not replace the garage doors. On the back, there's some decks. I didn't do any of that either. This is all I did. So here are the numbers. I made $5,400 positive cash flow for 18 months. And then I made $36,000 profit on the sale. And it was a tax write-off for 18 months. And that $36,000 profit was long-term capital gains taxes, which means it's a lot less than if you're buying, fixing, and selling in 6 months. And then the bonus is I got to meet my cat Buddy, who is still alive, and he's sitting on my sofa right here. And so he was a rainy day, and we had our big Dodge Ram truck with the extended cab and the long bed, and it was pouring down rain. He just jumped into the truck, and he's been with us ever since. So, you know, who says real estate doesn't have his bonuses? So if you don't know me at all, I used to be known as the Kiyosaki of Waterbury, Connecticut. I've done lots of different things, wholesaling, rehabbing, and just really pretty much everything. I founded the Connecticut REIA and handed that off to a new team of people about 2 years ago, year and a half ago now. And I trained probably 15,000 real estate entrepreneurs over that time. And we coached hundreds of coaching students who took massive action and found real estate success just by hanging out with us and learning what we had to do. And my claim to fame is that I'm very good at taking complicated ideas and turning them into really simple step-by-step so that anybody can do this. And so if you're trying to get through the morass of all this training and education and infomercials and seminars and everything else, you just want to follow what I have to say. You know, I've got a couple books on Amazon. You may want to check them out because, again, it's just super, super simple stuff. But if you don't know what you're doing, it could be an issue, right? So this is also why I'm famous. You know, I'm always embarrassed to show this, but they tell me I'm supposed to tell you how great I am. So here I am. I've written a couple books, Why Women Are Simply Better at Real Estate Investing, which, by the way, Tria, we can work out something so that the people that attend Wire can get a copy of that. Why getting started in real estate investing. And then we have an online program, which is actually part of, you can get access to it through the Tria. It's it's a 12 modules on how to find properties, evaluate them, fix them up, hold on to them, wholesale them, all the different strategies you might need. That's included in that program, and you can get access to that through the REIA. I've been in the New York Times, believe it or not. I won an award called Women of Fire, which is finance, insurance, and real estate. And why that's important is that it acknowledged women in different industries. But here's really why I do it. It's really not about me, because it doesn't matter to you what's in my bank account. What really matters is what's in your bank account, right? And I know how you feel because when I got, I'll come back to my story in a minute, but this is why I do this. I ran into one of my students a few years later, and he said to me, this guy's a real estate agent. Unfortunately, he went through a nasty divorce. He had a 7-year-old daughter at the time. And he said, Linda, you have no idea what a difference you guys are making, because I get to spend so much time with my daughter. I get to go to her activities at school. I get to, go to her sports events, all of that, because he knows real estate and he doesn't have to go to work 40 hours a week. So that was when he said that to me, it really hit home. This is why I do this. This is another woman. I love this part because some of us do real estate because we love real estate, but a lot of us do it just because we have a passion for doing something else. So this is my friend Joy, and she was an artist, and she also fostered teenagers. She also raised chickens, and she had eggs of all different colors right in her own backyard. Given her artistry, she was really brought that to rehabbing. And you can see this is just one of her projects in the middle of a big city. And you would never believe that out the backyard, there's this beautiful view of like a whole park. I mean, I really felt I was in the suburbs, but her rule was to be within 5 minutes of Home Depot. That was it. So I've been following that suggestion ever since. This is another woman that I am so proud of. She was a school bus driver. And you know how we pay school bus drivers a lot of money, right? They can retire just on their earnings. No. So what her deal was, she found this home, and she found it because there was a little sign saying for sale by owner. And she called on this sign, and he said, well, where did you see it? Did you see it on Craigslist or on the sign? I said, well, and she said, well, why? So, well, my brother put it up on Craigslist for a lot less than what I put it up for on the street sign. So she said, oh, I saw it on Craigslist. But she negotiated 3 years of payments from the owners, none of her own money. And then she was able to get grants to do all the renovations, including lead abatement, all through her local town. So someone who's a school bus driver was able to live in this really cute property. And again, you don't see this, but it borders right on this beautiful river. It's such a beautiful area. So that's why I do that, is because I would love to impact you, that you're sitting in your little Zoom picture right there, where we get the opportunity for you to have whatever dreams you want to have in your life, whatever dreams they are. So you may want to, as I'm telling you a little bit about my story, you may want to say, this is 2021. A year from now, where do I want to be? What's going to be in my bank account? What kind of freedom do I want to have? What job do I want to have? What kind of health, what kind of relationship, all of that. Because real estate could be either your full-time, or it could be a vehicle to financial freedom. Just about every single very, very, very wealthy person I know has real estate in their portfolio. So this is a great opportunity for you to be part of this whole thing. A little bit of background about me. I collected for UNICEF, and why that's fun is because I would go door to door around Halloween time, but I make sure my friends and we always went to the good side of the tracks so I could peek in and see how the other half lived and what their beautiful homes were. I was a Girl Scout. That's not me, but I was a Girl Scout, loved building fires, campfires, and living in tents. And I was just, I got to go camping and hiking, and I still love to do that. So I love the country, but I also love the city. I went to school at Temple University in downtown Philadelphia, and that was definitely the hood. You see that picture on the right? That is what Philadelphia looked like. It was horrible. And I was a social work student, and as part of my internship, we went to, I guess it was a row home. I'm guessing it was a 3-family house. All I remember was water coming down the stairwell because it had never been taken care of. Isn't that awful? It was just terrible. So, and so that's my thought was, let's put people to work. Let's train them on how to do these things so they can make it happen. So fast forward a couple of years later, I was graduating and I really wasn't making any money. And it was a terrible time when, unfortunately, a lot of people on this call are facing same type of situation where you've been out of work for a year through no fault of your own. There's going to be a lot of transition going on right now. Our economy is shifting quite a bit because of technology and everything else. And so that's going to be interesting to see how that whole thing works, right? So I wanted to make sure that you are going to be part of this whole thing. Jackie, are you still there, by the way?
I am here.
Yeah. Oh, okay, good. I just want to make sure I was still talking to you. I was so
Okay,
silent.
no, you're doing great.
Okay, good. So I remember, and I don't know if any of you dealt with this, but I was very good friends with a friend of mine who had a 2-family house. And she was an entrepreneur, and she decided to change careers without having another career to go to. She just decided to go find herself or something like that. And every month, the only way we could pay the mortgage was because she had a tenant upstairs. The tenant paid enough rent to pay for the mortgage. And that's why she was never homeless. Isn't that amazing? And every Sunday night, we look at all the bills and we decide, okay, this, I can pay this one, but not this one. So Monday was all about calling all the creditors to say, I'm really sorry, got to give me a little bit more time. I'll send you $10. I'll send you $15, but we're here and at least I'm talking to you. Some of you guys know what I'm talking about. And I went through, a series of unemployment. I get a job, then I get laid off, get a job, get a laid off. Similar in time, because right now we're going through from, brick and mortar to electronics. And there's some winners and there's some losers. And you and I want to be on the side of the winners. You and I want to be in a position where we get to choose our future. And that's why you're here. And whatever you learn here, you can apply to any kind of business that you may have. I'm in a seminar right now with about 100 people in 9 different time zones throughout Europe and South Africa and Russia and the United States. And I was on the phone with one of them. She's in the Netherlands, and she says, yes, I sell essential oils for this company called Noterra. I said, I know Noterra. It was so interesting. Like, I sometimes forget, we are not the center of the universe, but there's a transition going on, and you and I get to be part of what's going to be good and what's going to happen. But anyway, at this time, I was going from job to job, unemployment. And my biggest fear was that I'd get to a certain age with gray hair, which is that I do have gray hair, it's covered up now. But anyway, I did not want to have to be a Walmart greeter. There's nothing wrong with being a Walmart greeter if you have the choice to do so. I didn't want to be in a position where I had to do it and I didn't have a choice. So I really got to work learning how to be an entrepreneur. I learned how to be an insurance agent, which was difficult because I couldn't even sell Girl Scout cookies. But I learned how to sell. And what's great about the library is some really great books and tapes and all that to train me. Anyway, I became one of the top reps as an insurance agent. And the nice thing about that is you sell a policy one time and you get paid month in and month out, month in and month out until they get a different policy. So I went to real estate and I found out I could do the same thing with real estate, couldn't I? Right? You have tenants, you have apartments, and I get checks in the mail every single month. Well, actually now it's on Venmo, right? Or some such thing. But the point is that I prepare the unit, whether it's a single family, a condo, an apartment, and I screen the tenants super well, take care of the property, and they're going to pay rent every single month. So what I found is I stumbled upon, being in the Northeast, there are a lot of multifamily houses. So I did a lot of those, but I also happened to stumble upon condominiums. And so that's the opportunity I want to talk to you about tonight, is that a lot of people skip over condominiums because they don't know anything about them. They don't know how to evaluate them. They're afraid of them. And I'm here to tell you that it could be the best thing on the planet for a lot of reasons. So let's kind of go through all that. So first of all, this is who lives in condos. You've got all these different generations. And if you look at the biggest number, you got baby boomers, right? Which is right in line with the millennials. And now we have the Z generation, which is even bigger and it's been born since 1997. So they're now what, 23 years of age. This group is huge. It's the biggest set of population, and they are in the perfect age for being in condominiums because it tends to be young people out of college. It's much more affordable. They haven't gotten children. They haven't, don't take offense of anything I'm saying. I'm just using demographics, right? So condominiums tend to be filled with young professionals who may or may not be married, probably don't have children, or if they have children, it might only be one person, or people of a certain age, which apparently I now qualify for, where we're on retirement side and we're sick and tired of mowing the lawn. So these are who's living in the condos. And if you look at the largest part of our population, that's who they are. This is how big this is. There are 338,000 community associations, 2.3 million members that are on the board, 80 million hours of service performed, worth $1.76 billion in our economy. And then you take it another step, and I'll talk about this more on Saturday, where you have community association management companies. They are the professionals that help you run your community. And look how many there are, somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 of them. And this employs close to 100,000 people across the United States. It's a big deal that you are ignoring. Most people are ignoring. Here's another thing. You're short of inventory, right? You can't find a deal. That's what I hear all the time. There's not enough inventory. I can't find a property. I can't find a deal. Well, I just went today. This is the condos for sale in Raleigh, 202 of them. How many of them do you need, right? So you got 200, and that's just in Raleigh itself. There's also townhomes. There's mobile homes that could be run like condos, etc. This is huge. They're everywhere. But the most popular are like near hospitals, near universities and schools. They're close to transportation. That's where people like to live. Again, remember our target, for many people are young professionals, young people that they're going to graduate school, they're have their first job. They want to feel like they're independent. They don't really want to be in an apartment building necessarily. So they want to have their own space. So that's an opportunity. This is what's so great about them, as far as I'm concerned. You don't have to mow the lawn. I hate mowing the lawn. It makes too much noise. You do not have to shovel the snow. Now, I know you're in Raleigh. And you hardly have any snow, except I've seen it because my sister lives there. You don't have to, but if you're in a condo, you don't have to shovel the snow. You don't have capital expenses. In other words, you don't have to worry about the roof, the windows, lots of those really big expenses. You don't have to be responsible for them. And so so it's all budgeted in for you. Here's another thing. They are much, much, much easier to renovate. Why? Well, I'm going to show you why a little bit later on. They're very easy to rent. Like I said, people like to have their own space. They like to feel like they're in their own home. And so as opposed to being in a large apartment complex, they're much easier to buy because their price point is so much less than most other units. Many times you can get owner financing. Again, if somebody, young people, they now get married and now one of them has to sell their condo. This is kind of typical. Or they have one child and they've gotten 3 kids. Now it's time for them to move. In other words, when they're ready to move, they want to be able to move. So a lot of times you can get owner financing, creative financing from them. And we'll talk a little bit about that. And although I do not recommend this, you can buy them sight unseen with less risk. Now let's talk, I'm going to show you an example where we got bailed out because it was a condo that was, a complex was responsible for the repair. But let's think about it. This is a complex and there's several different styles of units. But once you get to know that community, you pretty much know what it looks like on the outside. They're pretty standard on the inside. Yes, you need a couple of photographs, but because the capital expenses are taken care of, it's a lot less risk for you to buy something sight unseen. Of course, you're going to have somebody go in there and take pictures. You'll get somebody to estimate repairs, but it's not like buying, a house, especially a 100-year-old house. And like I said, they're less expensive. Here is the biggest thing. I want you to write this down. I want you to circle it, highlight it. There is less competition for you as an investor with condominiums than there are for single family houses. Period. Less competition. If you're a wholesaler, there is less competition for you as a wholesaler, because almost every wholesaler I ever talk to, they don't like them. They don't know what to do with them. They don't think there's a market for them, so they skip over them. I'm going to show you an example of why this is a big mistake and why that's an advantage to you. They are very easy to appraise because they're all alike, right? As long as you're within the same community and they're the same style, they're easy to appraise, as opposed to most towns where you have towns of different sizes. So the other thing is, this is what I love. This is where I live. The amenities. The nice thing about condominium complexes is that they often have a clubhouse, tennis courts, golf courses, swimming pools. I have this lake. It's 2.5 miles to walk around the lake. We have all kinds of nature in there, and you get to participate with it just for your condo fees. The other thing so you get to live in the lap of luxury without having to pay for it. The other thing is you can buy them anywhere you want to. So if you want to retire to Hawaii or Puerto Rico or to Vail, Colorado, you could buy a condo, set it and forget it. And so you can buy them anywhere you want to. There's a friend of mine, she bought I was talking to her about this, and she said she forgot that she even owned it. She had a bunch of different multifamily properties. This one, the rent came in every single month. And when the roof leaked, all she had to do was call the homeowners association and they fixed it. She didn't have to find a roofer and get 3 estimates or any of that. It was just so much simpler for her. This is another example. I was speaking at the Long Island REIA, and this woman came up to me. She owned a unit in Colorado, and when she moved to Long Island, she kept it and rented it out to people who love to ski. And then over the years, it appreciated in value. And so when it was high enough, she sold it. And so she enjoyed living there. She made money as a rental, and she made money when she sold it. So that's pretty cool. However, there are some things that you really need to understand, or you can make big mistakes that will cost you a whole heck of a lot of money. And I really want you to understand this. So again, you're going to want to write down some of these things. There are good complexes and there are not such great complexes, and you need to know the difference. It's very, very important. You have to be able to deal with board members. So if you don't like people, this might not be the best opportunity for you. You are going to have HOA fees, whether you want to or not. So, when you own a single family house, and if you don't feel like putting money into your rainy day fund, you don't have to. But with HOAs, you have to. Every single month, they're charging you a fee, and a good amount of that is going into reserves so that when you need a roof or you need to pave the parking lot, it's there. So they're forcing you to budget. Financing could be trickier. We'll talk about that. Not horrible. The FHA made some changes in 2019 very recently that make it a lot easier to get financing, but there are some rules that you got to know. And you may not be able to rent them out. So especially in this day of Airbnb, a lot of them are getting more and more specific about whether they're going to let you do short-term rentals. And then you also have to find out if you're allowed to have pets. So where I live now, I'm not allowed to rent out the unit. And that was a disappointment because I was planning to be able to go back and forth to different places. It's something we'll have to accommodate, but we like the community so much that we ended up doing it anyway. All right. Are there any questions so far before I get into some technical stuff about how to find units? Jack, you want to let me know if there's anybody wants to look at anything here?
Guys, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. Seen anything come in? Yeah, Linda, I will tell you just a ninja tip for those members that are on the call. I'm going to do a testimonial because I absolutely love rehabbing condos.
Oh, okay, cool.
I love it. And I love it because there's an HOA and usually the exterior. I mean, you've got to do your legwork, but you traditionally are just dealing with the internal. At least my experience, it's the internal repairs. And what I normally do is if I'm looking at purchasing, even if it's an off-market purchase, which almost all of mine are, I will get an inspection in advance of buying it if I can. And that's what I use to turn over to the HOA immediately. So while I'm doing the reno,
Mm.
they've got that list of requests in their hands already. And when I turn around and sell it, which is usually 6 weeks later, it's already scheduled, the repairs. So anyway, that's my experience. We did get a question from Patrick McVeigh, how to tell good from not so good complexes.
Excellent. Stay tuned. Good. Stay tuned. That was, see, I planted that question. No, we're going to do that right now, actually. Good for you.
Okay.
All right, good. Yeah, no, Jackie, if you don't know this, Jackie's a really good rehabber. Very excellent. All right. So, step one. So let's go through the steps of how to get a deal done, right?
Okay.
And
Linda, you've got
I'm going
one
to be
other
teaching
one.
us. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'll throw this out there and then I'm going to hold the rest of them, but just in case it's not coming up, Jermaine wants to know if you can lease option them, and if so, can you charge what you want as rent, or does it have to be in tune with the market of the other units?
Oh, great question. So, yes, you can do a lease option. You can do, because condos are considered a separate piece of real estate, you can do anything you do with a single family house, you can do structure wise, legal structure wise with this. Co-ops are different. And I'm not really talking much about co-ops because this is, we're talking about North Carolina, but in the big cities, co-ops are different as far as that goes. As far as rents go, unless you're in a rent control state, and there are some, you can do whatever the market will bear. So there's no reason why, there's no limit that I've ever heard of as far as rents go. It's just that if you're too far high, you're not going to get people. They'll go someplace else. So those are good questions. All right, let's talk about how you find the unit. And this is a place where you might want to take notes if you haven't. So number one is the MLS. I know we teach you all kinds of creative ways of finding deals, and you should definitely do that. But go on the MLS. I just found 202 condos for sale just in Raleigh alone. The nice thing about that is, and I love to use the map view, and on Saturday, I can go into a little more detail on it, but I like to look at the map view because I can see, you might have a cluster of homes around 100,000, but there's one for 45, and that's going to be some kind of a deal, right? Why is that 45 and the rest of them are 100? So I like the map view a lot. You have all kinds of photographs and you can get all kinds of information about it. Then the second thing is I like postcards and letters, and they work. I've gotten plenty of them myself, and they work. There's a brief picture of one. They work just like anything else. We buy houses cash. We'll buy on the day of your choice. But this one, you could make it very specific. We buy condos. Stop paying those HOA fees. Stop paying, don't pay that assessment anymore. Something creative, using that. And there's something called, I think it's still called Every Door Direct. It's done by the Postal Service. And what you do is you select the carrier route, and they will deliver your postcard or letter to every single address within that carrier route. Well, since there's only usually one carrier route will cover the entire community for a fraction of what it normally costs, you could get a postcard or a letter or a memo out to every single person into a particular community. So once you've decided where you like to buy, that's a great opportunity. Phone calls are great. I know people sometimes are afraid of them, but I've become really that I really like them. In fact, now I'm learning how to negotiate by email instead of always depending on the phone. But phone calls are great. You get to build rapport and get to know people and find out information. But my favorite thing is word of mouth. Remember when I said I was known as Robert Kiyosaki of Waterbury? Is because I was a member of Business Network International. BNI is a networking group that meets every single week, and there's lots of them around. And every single week I'd have to bring a lead for the other people in my group, and they'd have to bring leads for me. And over time, people get to know that, oh, I'm that gal that buys real estate. And so people start bringing me opportunities and challenges that other people don't know about. And when I look back at all the real estate that I've done, way more than half are word of mouth. I don't know about the rest of the REIA team, but that's what I found. So word of mouth is super important. And keep in mind that you're doing them a favor. They have a problem, you're there to solve it. I just got off the phone today with a woman who has a mobile home park to sell, and her husband unfortunately just passed away in December. So she's just figuring out now, it doesn't seem like she has to sell financially, but life has changed for her quite dramatically, and she's considering her options. And I'm there to craft a solution for that. So word of mouth is very, very important. So next step is, the next step, of course, is doing due diligence on the community. So let me figure this out here. So number one is, I want you to write this down. Ask, always seek knowledge. Ask means always seek knowledge. ASK, right? So when you're dealing with a community, you want to, first and foremost, you want to know how many units are in the community. What are the condo fees? And they're going to vary a bit, because a 1 unit is going to be less than a 1 bedroom is going to be less than a 3 bedroom. You want to find out, what do the fees cover? You want to ask very specifically what that covers. Does it cover heat? Does it cover water? How about your property taxes? Does it cover the roof? Does it cover the windows? Are you responsible for the decks? So you don't have to remember everything that I just said, but you just want to ask really specifically, what do the fees cover? You want to find out if they're managed, well, all of them are managed by an HOA, homeowners association. This is a board of people that are your neighbors, and they volunteered to run the place. Now, if there are enough units, then they hire a company called a community association manager. And these are professional property managers, and their purpose is to help your HOA run the community better. So when you do have to get a new roof, they'll run all the estimates. They don't write the checks, your HOA writes the checks, but they'll come up with all the different estimates. They'll deal with the city for building code and things like that. I did not know this when I got started. I'm telling you now that it's much better if you get one that runs with a community association manager. And that usually you have to have probably, well, at least 25 units, but I would say 50 units or more. You don't want to buy a 2 unit or a 3 unit that became a condo complex. And there are a lot of them, especially in big cities, because if you only have 3 people in a triplex, and if they're not putting the money aside for the roof, what are you going to do? Foreclose on them? Well, you might have to, but when it comes time to put the new roof on there, you may not have enough money. You also want to find out if it's approved by FHA or VA or both. If they are, then you're going to have a lot easier time selling to first-time home buyers. But it doesn't mean you can't sell to first-time home buyers if they're not approved, but it's a good example. If they're approved by FHA or VA, then they're probably in pretty good shape. Very, very important, you want to underline is, what's the percentage of owner occupied? You want to have at least 50% owner occupied. Okay, at least 50%. And are pets allowed? And it's weird, like some of them will allow 1 cat and 1 dog. So, or 2 dogs, or dogs of a certain weight, or whatever. You need to find out what that is. This is also very important. How much of their budget is going into reserves? And this is required for FHA and VA approval. If you do not have enough money in reserves, you're not going to have a very good complex, and people are not going to be able to get mortgages to move in. So I know that because I was going to buy one in New York City. I'll tell you more about it. And I couldn't because they didn't have enough in reserves. So first you're going to do due diligence on the community. Then you want to do due diligence on the unit itself. So, and this is going to be very like any other due diligence that you're doing for any other property, but it is easier. You're going to walk through and you're going to estimate repairs. You're going to determine what you have to fix. What can you either leave behind or do over time? You're going to find out what are the comps. This again, you just look at the same size units, the same style of unit within that complex, and those are going to be your best comps. So that's due diligence of the unit. Keep in mind, now, when I said no capital expenses, you will probably be responsible for the furnace and the air conditioner, but not necessarily, because if your condo fees are paying for the furnace, the association may be taking care of that. So, but the big stuff you probably don't have to worry about, but you still need to, fix up the unit. So the one I moved into, we're doing 2 bathrooms and a kitchen while we're living there. Isn't that fun? Anyway, it's exciting. We're having a good time with it. So that's the due diligence on the unit. Then what you want to do is determine what is the best exit strategy. So we started off tonight talking about wholesaling, buying, fixing, and selling, buying, fixing, and holding, moving, or are you going to move in, right? Because some of you are renting right now. This is a great opportunity for you to buy. So you want to determine what the best exit strategy is. And by the way, the best exit strategy is 2 exit strategies. If you can buy and sell and you can buy and wholesale, great. If you can buy and hold and buy and sell, so you want to have options. Like I said, I really don't know what's going to happen in 2021. I don't think anybody really does, but it's very likely that something's going to change dramatically with real estate. And you just want to be prepared. And the market could change quickly. It could change. It could get better and better and better. It just could be a change. So the more nimble you are, the better. And it's also why I like condos or simple projects like this, is that you can get in and get out super quickly as you read the tea leaves from month to month. All right, now let's talk about money. Money, money, money. All right, so many people will buy these condos with mortgages. They are all available: Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA. FHA, you used to have the entire community approved to get an FHA loan. That's no longer true, which is great, makes it more flexible. Many times you can get owner financing. I'm going to give you some examples of that. Private money is my favorite by far. I talk to lots of people. We like to get private money from folks, and you pay them an interest rate. Make sure that it's a mortgage and a note, that they're insured, and that it's recorded so that everybody gets paid and they're happy. You could also use hard money. And I'm sure REIA has hard money lenders that are sponsors. And hard money is great because they always have the money and they don't need it back until you're done, but it is more expensive. So know that you want to do a combination of things. And then spend your newfound cash, which I don't think I have to teach you how to do that, right? I think you know how to do that. I will say though, in the beginning, put your money aside, reinvest in your business. Go out on the town for $100 dinner or something, but put the rest back into your business so that you can build this for the long haul. We like to see people in this business for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? So I'm going to go through some case studies. I just want to check in. Are there any questions, Jackie, that I should be aware of? Are we all set?
I think we're all set right now.
Cool.
Oh,
Okay,
wait,
good.
no, there was one more. I'm sorry.
Okay,
I missed
that's
it.
right. That's all right.
So there's actually 2 that have come in. Eric was asking, if the HOA keeps raising the fees, how do you continue to get positive cash flow from the condo?
Great question.
Yeah.
So the easiest question is, if property taxes keep going up and up and up, how do you increase your cash flow? We don't have any, there are no guarantees in life. However, the due diligence of the community is going to be very important to you, because if the community is run well, then yes, you'll have increases over time, but they're not going to be dramatic. There are cases that you do have to be aware of where, they're doing a special assessment. And a friend of mine lives in a community and there was a $9,000 assessment because they had to replace all the roofs and they had to put in new parking pavement, and the community is financing it for them. But essentially that's an increase of like $200 a month until it's paid off. So that's why you want to do the due diligence as much as possible. Yep.
Yeah. We also have a question from Philip that says, currently, does it take about the same number of days to sell condos as single family homes? And Linda, I would say, I'll jump in on this.
Yeah, please.
From a local market perspective, I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of another. Every condo I've done is sold. Actually, they've all sold within 3 to 4 days, which is consistent with the single family homes, but they have to be priced right. You need to know your market. And so if you're the first person to renovate in a condo, So say you choose a condominium in Southeast Raleigh, that's further out, and you're the very first one to renovate it, and so you're going to be pushing the sales price. Then it may sit on the market a little bit longer, or it could go. So just do your due diligence like you would anything else. But if it is priced right and the work is good, especially in this market in Research Triangle Park, you should not have any issues.
Right. Yeah, my neighbor is selling. Unfortunately, I said to them, "I hope you're selling it to a nice person." But anyway, they had 3 offers the very first day,
Mhm.
and so this market is just super fast right now, and maybe people are tired of staring at 4 walls and they want to get the heck out. Not sure what's going on, but it's a great opportunity for you to do it. It's very easy to check to see what other people are putting into their units so that you do not overspend on your unit. Most beginning rehabbers, they want to put way too much money in and you don't get it back out. So just look at what the neighbors are doing for that price point and do that, and don't do anything more. Don't be a pioneer. You'll see some opportunities will come along where somebody's building a whole condo complex and then they put the price on the condos to set the price for everybody else to buy. Well, that's a brand new condo complex, and actually, and that's more risky. You just want to buy, fix and sell in an area where there's already a demand. And I know we tend to use the same agents over and over again, but I find that it's also useful to go with an agent who has already had sales in that particular community and that particular price point, because they may already have a buyer's list ready to go. So great. Anything else?
You have Patrick wants to know why more than 50% owner occupied. I think that was referring to something that you
because they said so. because the the government backed mortgages say so. But think about it, it makes sense, right? So let's think about single family homes. If you have a particular neighborhood and most of the people are living there as opposed to tenants, tends to be better taken care of, tends to be more stable. You're going to find that in condominium complexes also. And especially nowadays with Airbnb, where people are coming and going all the time, it has become a problem, and a lot of communities are putting their foot down. So it adds to the value of it. That's all.
And then Sophia, so you've got some great questions here. Sophia's asking, how much money should the HOA condo management be putting into reserve? So is there an approximate amount or percentage that people are looking for?
You want to have at least 10%. 10% of collected revenues, need to go into reserves. Very, very important. In fact, lenders will not lend, give you a mortgage if that's not there. So it's really, really important. And we'll have a little bit more time on Saturday to talk about condo docs, but that's one of the ones that you really want to find out about. And so that's super important on that. Cool. All right, you ready, guys, for some fun stuff? I love the case study things. You guys ready for that? Sure. I can hear the roaring applause. Zoom is so weird. I miss talking to live people. On the other hand, I would not be up in Raleigh right now. But anyway, so this is, let me go back one slide here. Maybe. What happened here? Okay, so this is what a condo complex looks like, right? This is a bread and butter community, not too high, not too low. And I bought a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath condominium. The seller had a really big problem. And this is what I was talking about, that people tend to buy these and then life changes and they move away and they don't know what to do. So this gentleman was an IT person. He got transferred out into the middle of the country, someplace. And, but he had a big problem. He left a tenant who happened to be his ex-girlfriend. And the next wasn't really a problem, but he wanted to get married to a new person. And she said, if you don't solve this issue, we're not getting married. The other issue for me was that it was so inexpensive. I did not want to use my credit for a small loan. So this goes up and down, goes up and down. But at one point, I was only allowed to hold 4 mortgages in my name. And beyond that, I'd have to go to much more expensive financing. So I didn't want to use it. So we offered to take over payments. He already had a mortgage in existence. I offered to take over payments. And then I paid him for the first year. I paid him on top of that about $300 a month for the first year, just to give him some more money on it. I helped him evict the tenant. Now I'm not an attorney. And I talked to my attorney. I said, can I do this with the tenant in there? And he said, absolutely not. It's just too risky. So so I gave him the name of my eviction attorney, and they did it. And then they got the eviction in June, but he was too nice of a guy and he wouldn't make the woman move. So we went to September, and I finally put my foot down and said, listen, dude, you have to do something about it. Sure enough, we had to hire a marshal to come there. The woman hadn't packed at all. She was really upset that she didn't understand why I was doing this to her. It was a very sad situation. Evicting people is really, really, really sad. It's not anything I take pleasure in at all, but unfortunately, sometimes we have to do it. So I did help him evict the tenant because I was local and he wasn't. This unit was perfect. It already had new kitchen and new flooring. And I thought it would rent for about $1,000. Okay. By the way, I use something called Rentometer, Rentometer, rentometer.com. And I looked at the comparables. So this is what he did. We took over payments at $46,000. There was no money out of my pocket. Cost about $2,000 for minor repairs. My partner always glares at me because I didn't do any of the work. We got somebody in to, get rid of all the stuff. She had a number of cats. I love cats, but there was too many of them. So anyway, we had to get out the furniture. We tried selling the furniture. We put paint on the basement floor, had a full finished basement. We painted the basement. It was a brand new furnace, by the way. The windows were in great shape. Besides, it was a condo. The floors were in beautiful shape. So basically, I don't even think we painted it. I think we just cleaned it. and then I advertised it, and I rented it within 2 weeks. And for $1,250. So remember, I thought it was going to be $1,000, but I got it for $1,250 because that's what Rentometer told me. And then she says, do you want me to pay the water bill? I said, let me think about that for just a nanosecond. I said, yes. So we actually made it a lot more cash flow than I expected to. Fast forward 2 years later, I refinanced another building and we paid off this small loan, and now it's owned free and clear. And so now the cash flow is, and I raised the rent $25 a month. So now cash flow is, about the condo fees are only a little over $200 a month. Property taxes are, I think, like $100 to $150 a month. There's insurance. You do get the association has their own insurance, and then the tenant has her own insurance, and I have in between insurance. So it's only like, I don't know, $500 to $700 a year. So it's incredible cash flow. And I was talking to some students last night. I'll show the case study on Saturday, but they're cash flowing at least $500 a month. So you're getting a much bigger spread on these condos than you would, I find, in an apartment building. Most people target at least $200 a month, and we are getting a lot more than that. So let's talk about wholesaling for a second. This is actually, we bought 2 units in this particular complex, and somebody sent me a postcard who wanted to buy our units, and I talked to her, and turned out she was a wholesaler. She told me this story, which was she did the postcard. She met this gentleman. He had lived there. He moved out. He rented it to a friend of his for a couple of years. That person moved out. They put a new tenant in there, tenant from heck, who destroyed the place. The poor landlord was an accidental landlord, didn't know what he was doing. He was really upset. His wife was upset. And as you can imagine, I mean, it's your property and somebody else is destroying it. So he really wanted to get out of there. So this wholesaler went and met with them. She started off, I think, at like $28,000 an offer, and they couldn't go that low. They put it under contract for $45,000. Then what they did is they targeted cash buyers for this community and other condo communities in the area. So again, as wholesalers, that you are only as good as your buyer's list. If you don't have a buyer's list, you're not in business. So this makes it easier. Once you determine what communities you want to target, then you look, through records and you find out who's paying cash for all these units and who owns multiple units in this area. And that's who she targeted. She also targeted realtors in the area who bought in that area. So she was able to assign it for $55,000. So it was a $10,000 assignment fee. The realtor got 3 and she kept 7. And that all happened within about 2 weeks. I don't know about you, but I could use $7,000 in the next 2 weeks. What about you? Right? And she was doing it over and over and over again. So that's one thing. So as a wholesaler, if you're a wholesaler, I think there were not too many that raise their hands, but if you're a wholesaler, condos can be really, really critical. And by the way, very few people deal with them. I got another one across my desk, was 14 condos in one complex that they were wholesaling. The only thing about that is that, remember, each condo has its own deed. So if you're going to, as a buyer, you have to get a deed for each one, which may mean you have to get a separate financing for each one. But you'll find that in certain complexes, the landlords will own 2, 3, 4, 10, whatever units at a time. So if you get a relationship with one, you can get a relationship and sell a lot more. So, all right, let's talk about rehabbing. There are a lot of you that wanted rehabbing, so we'll talk about that for a minute. This is one, again, what I found is I was a coach. And by the way, if you have a coaching program at REIA, which I think you have now, you should definitely jump on board. These folks are very experienced. They know your market inside and out. And I think working with a local coach is probably the most effective coaching that you can find. And so I would definitely jump on that if you'd like. But anyway, so many of my students, their very first deal was a condo. They looked at lots of other things and they couldn't get it done. So this was a husband and wife team. They found this unit. It was cute. It's like 2 bedrooms, 1 bath on top of a garage. It was very small, 600-700 square feet, something like that. And I gave them 2 weeks to finish. Turns out they actually took 3 weeks. But anyway, 2 weeks of rehabbing, 2 weeks to market it, and 2 weeks to close the sale. And so again, I'm trying to have you see that these are so simple that even you can do it. If I can do this, you can do it. This was the bathroom before. That's the bathroom after. You can see some nice staging with a mirror, makes a huge difference. Pedestal sink, nice bright, what do you call it, shower curtain. The only thing they had to do was take care of a rusty radiator. They did have to fix the shower handle, which was corroded. So they had to learn, that was a little more expensive, and they did some painting. This was the kitchen before. The kitchen was just kind of like an insert into the living room. It wasn't a separate room is what I'm trying to tell you. They removed wallpaper, updated countertops, painted cabinets, right? They did not remove cabinets. They painted them. They replaced the ugly vinyl floor and they put in fresh paint. And that's what it looked like. Big difference. Those lights underneath the cabinets make a huge difference. And they fixed the wooden floor. They had to bring some electrical under the sink up to code. That was it. They got away with it. Not away with it in a bad way. There just wasn't that much to be done. The main living room was disgusting. Just keep in mind that the worse it smells, the more money you're going to make. The walls had to be fixed a lot, dents, and all the doors had dents in them. And so instead of buying new doors, they just put Bondo on them and then scraped them and painted them. That'll save you a lot of time. Very important. And then they brought their own staging. And here's one thing, and I'm sure Jackie can attest to this too. Once you have your staging materials, you just bring them from property to property to property. So it's not a big investment. In the back, you can see there's a little table with 2 chairs. It's just designed to show, hey, this is a sitting area where you can sit, and the kitchen is directly to the left of that table in the back, if that makes sense. Nice staging there. And then we've done a lot of these luxury renovations. These are $100,000 renovations. Not for the weak of heart. They're beautiful. They're dramatic. I don't recommend them. They take too long. You depend on the market. They'll sit on the market longer. This is designed for people that, this is a 55 and older community. These are people that are downsizing. They're commuting back and forth between Florida and Connecticut, and they're beautiful. Don't get me wrong. It just takes way too long. But as you can see, on the left-hand side, the top is the dining room, and it shares the wall on the right with the kitchen, and the kitchen is the picture down below. And, you know, this is beautiful, you know, mustard color, right? This is a galley kitchen. So this wall here got all knocked out, right? So you can see from the kitchen all the way to this window, as you can see here, right? And then we put in place for the bar stools, and there's enough room for the dining table to sit there. And we opened up this window here and that window there. And it was just gorgeous, really, really gorgeous. Top dollars. We get thank you notes from buyers. It just takes more time and energy. And if you're not sure where the market's going to go, you may not want to tie up that much time. It's just like with a single family house. You don't want to go after something where there's fewer people that want to buy. I wanted to go through some creative financing. I thought this might be useful for you. This was this was in a 55 and older community. She was sitting in class and she was cheers in the back of the room say, I found it. This was 3 units on Craigslist. Many people had seen it. No one could figure out how to make a deal. And this is where having a mentor or coach is helpful, because this guy had not paid condo fees for, I think, 3 years, and 3 years more than that, hadn't paid property taxes in that long. So her mentor coached her through the words to use, and she was able to walk into this unit, making payments over time to the government and making payments over time to the HOA. She did not make any money for 3 years. She broke even for 3 years because of that. But after that, they're owned free and clear. And they were fully rented, in great shape. So imagine that. And now she's making what, $2,500 to $3,000 a month. And it costs her no money to get into this deal. So even if you have horrendous credit and $100 in your bank account, you could do this. It just takes some skill. Go ahead. Yeah.
That is awesome. No, that is absolutely awesome. I just want to do a quick time check because I know
yes,
we're
almost 8 o'clock, right?
Yeah. We're
good. Then I'm going to just allude to you that we have a lot more case studies, and I'd love to go into these deals on Saturday, and a lot about how to do with your IRA, how to buy with your IRA, how to buy with private money. This one had a $23,000 repair that was paid for by the condo association. So what Jackie was referring to, putting your list together, the condo association is responsible for a lot, and you can get that done. And this was all renovated on a credit card, but we bought it with private money, and then we use, you know, those 0% private checks that you can get all those. So, and then you can also use your IRA to buy these. And again, this was hardly any renovation at all. So those are the main points I wanted to get across. If you, so we want to like transform this from these are great examples to how you're going to implement this in your life. So Tria invited me to teach you all on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. You can sign up online. I think it's, what is the tuition for that, Jackie, going to be?
So it is, if you remember, it's $49. It's a Saturday session this Saturday. And I put the link up. We're putting it on the website now. We were chatting with Linda. So just a little background, guys. We were chatting with Linda this afternoon and going over, there is so much information about condos. I'm a huge believer in them because I absolutely, I mean, I said earlier, I'd love to renovate them. They're simpler. I think it is a great entry point for somebody that is new. Anybody that spent any time with me, you know, there's many different ways you can get into this business, but I truly believe that the amount of a renovation on your first one should never be more than the purchase price. And so there's a lot of benefit with condos, but it is very difficult in 45 minutes to walk through what you should be looking for. There just isn't enough time. So we asked Linda if she'd be available this Saturday to come back and do a 3-hour session. And so there is a price point for it. It's $49 for members, $69 for non-members. And we do need to have enough people to make it worthwhile. It's not a huge price point, but I will also tell you that I'm a believer in if you're asking somebody to come and to invest their time, and there is a fee associated with it, you tend to get better participation and more focused participants. So it's a win-win for everybody. I'm gonna stick the link in the chat.
Oh, cool.
I'm working on getting some PR out very, very quickly. So but it's this Saturday from 9 to 1, and it will be a 3-hour session, and it'll give Linda a chance to really walk you guys through how do you do this? What do you look for? In a more interactive session as well. Is that right, Linda? I'm just.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We'll be covering particularly marketing, some more information on due diligence, and we'll be talking about hitting some more details on rehabbing, and we'll be talking about creative financing. So we're going to do all that, and then we're going to set up give you a direction or a plan for what are the steps that you can take from here to there. Because as I said, when we first started, there's so many reasons why you can get one of these done in the next 30 days, even if you have no experience, and especially if you have experience. And by the way, I have students that have been, I have one guy named Steve, he's been doing this for 30, 40 years. And he does not need me to teach him anything, but this is an area that he always skipped over, and this is a way to cut the time involved. I'm going to share with you also in particular how I just landed in Atlanta, so I don't have a crew of people. I don't have a crew of suppliers. And so it's almost like I landed on Mars with NASA's rover, right? And how did I get going on this and cut costs by 30 to 50% over what people wanted to charge me, and exactly what our scope of work is. So if you want to get involved with that, we'd love to have you participate with that. And that's it. So we'll see you there. So we want to have at least 25 people there. And it's always a lot more fun when you have a lot of questions going back and forth and all that. So great. Anything else? I think that's it, really.
I think that's it. Any last minute questions?
So if you just, oh yeah. By the way, if you send, if there are any particular deals you're working on and you want to email them into the REIA team, then we can discuss some of them on Saturday also.
Cool.
Okay, I guess that was it, right?
Then I think that's a wrap. Linda, thank you.
Thank
Oh yeah,
you.
sure. Thanks for having me, y'all. It's great having. Where I hope to get you all involved as soon as possible.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
I feel like we're going 90 miles an hour and then we stopped. So we just hit the brakes on it, but definitely sign up for you on Saturday. We really want to see you and get you going on this. That'd be really cool.
And we oh, I see you got thank you from Beth. Thank you from David Cruz. Oh, David, yes, you were I think it was the first meeting for you. So thank you for today. Oh, there you are. I hope you enjoyed it. You got to come back and see us.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
All right.
Bye.